All right, so I'm here with former Yankees pitcher Joba Chamberlain. He was a famous bullpen arm and, of course, a starter as well. And he also played for a few other teams. Went to the University of Nebraska, where the College World Series just took place. So it's definitely some interesting stuff to dive into. So, Joba, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks for having me.
All right, so I'm going to take you back to your upbringing in Nebraska. The College World Series just happened there. But before we get to that, I'm going to ask you, like, how big of a culture shock was it going from Nebraska to the big city of New York? Like, all of a sudden you're with the Yankees, like, you grew up in the country. Like, how crazy was that for you?
I think it was a pretty easy transition because once I got drafted, um, I went down to Tampa for like a week or two,
Right.
and then they sent me to Hawaii.
Oh,
So
wow.
it kind of progressed in the way, and then go back to Tampa for spring training, and then we go to Trenton Double A, and then Scranton Triple A. So it kind of got smaller as it went before I got to the city.
Oh, okay.
So it was a shock earlier than it was later, just because like I had just had my son in April. I got drafted in June, and then they sent me to Hawaii for I think we were there for like three or 4 months. I don't remember. It all was kind of just a blur. It happened so fast. And
Interesting.
so then it was just like, all right, I'm in Tampa. I'm used to Tampa. And
Yeah.
then Trenton, you're like, we stay in Ben Salem. So that was weird. Then you're trying to find a new roommate. I'd had the same roommate since spring training. So, we had everything there and all that stuff. So it kind of like it got harder in the fact of like I had to figure stuff out because they do obviously do a good job with the minor leaguers now with
Yeah.
housing and stuff like that, but they didn't back then. So you were kind
Oh,
of just on
yeah.
your own. So and then, once I got to AAA, I was so tired of moving stuff. I'm like, do we have a hotel like where we stay at? And it was one like right up the hill from the field. I was like, I'm good. Like my goal was to get to Double A, and so I passed that and got to Triple A. So I was like, all right, I'm not doing anything special. I'll stay in a hotel, live out of a suitcase, and then I was only there 2.5 weeks, and then got called up. So it kind of went in waves. Tired of moving, and then it's like you get to the big leagues, and you're like, where are you gonna live? But at that point, I could have lived on a damn suitcase and a blanket and been just fine because I was playing in the big leagues. So yeah, it was a weird year per se because it all kind of started because I didn't sign until September. No, it was August. So basically, it was like a year when it
Yeah.
all happened. Because I signed late. Now you can't wait to sign that late. So
Yeah.
you go back in the draft.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I mean, your process was really accelerated because you don't even get a full season in the minors. You're already up into the show, coming out of the bullpen, getting like big outs too, like high leverage situations pretty quickly. So, like, what was that like? Just making your major league debut after not having that much time in the minors. Like, what was like some cool moments that stood out in your first MLB season?
Yeah, I mean, I blew my hamstring out in spring training, so I didn't even start until May. Um,
Wow.
yeah, the end of May. And so, I felt like about this big when, you got a first round draft pick, blows his hamstring out, can't even start the season off right. So I'm like, oh, that's a great first impression. So yeah, just kind of it went so fast, I didn't really have time to sit and think about it. It's like when I got to Double A, I was like, all right, that was my goal, perfect. So obviously I had a bed and everything, in Tampa because that was where spring training was. So we were going to be there a while, and I knew I was starting in Tampa too because they had told me. So I was like, perfect. So Ian Kennedy and I were roommates, and so we knew we were at least going to be there for a little bit, maybe the whole year. But it's like we're set, and you know how you can accumulate stuff so fast,
Yeah.
and so we're there. I'm still finishing rehab, and he gets called up a little bit before me. And then it's like, okay, well, I don't have a bed. I'm like, do I couch surf? And I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm just gonna go like get a nice air mattress because that was the thing.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm just trying to ask people, I'm like, what do I need? Like,
Huh.
I've got, hangers and I got this and I got that. I was like, I have no place to sleep. And so everything happens for a reason. And I've always followed the mantra and my dad taught me this. And it's like, we'll figure it out some way, somehow, like we'll figure it out. And it's like, okay, I finally get everything set up. Boom, my room's locked in. I'm like, yes, all right. I hit my goal for the first year. I'm good. I'm good. Well, the next day I get called up to AAA. And I'm like, man, like, not that I was pissed, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, I just barely got 24 hours to like enjoy it. I got
Oh
one of those like
yeah.
nice big Serta cooling air mattresses. And so now I get called up, I make a start, and then the process kind of really started from there after my first start. There was, probably 50, 40, 50 people around my locker, and I had a
Oh
good
wow.
start. Like it wasn't anything like crazy. I mean, I think I went like 6 innings, punched out 9 or 7, something like that. But it wasn't like I threw a no hitter or punched out like 15. So I'm like,
Got you.
why is why is that? Because that locker room was super nice, and the training room was on like, so the training room's like over here, my locker was like over here. So I saw everybody at my locker, and I'm like, what are they doing? And they're all like, great game, congratulations. And I'm like, yeah, it was a good start. We got some timely hits, and they're like, you haven't heard? And I'm like, heard what? And they're like, oh, you're getting called up to the big leagues. And I was like, I haven't heard nothing. So I mean, obviously, I was just happy to be in AAA. And so
That's a
I'm
crazy
like,
situation.
yeah, I'm like, I don't want to dime anybody out for not knowing, but I also don't want to be like, I don't want to go to the big leagues. Like, I don't know when I'm supposed to stay right there. And so the next day, like, go out and get some food afterwards. And then get there early the next day to get my running in. And it was raining that day, so I was just going to get some running in on the treadmill. And so we're sitting there, and I got my headphones on, and Mark Newman, who was our director of player development back then,
Okay.
who has since passed, so God rest his soul. But
Oh man.
he was like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Oh," it's like it feels like you're getting called into the principal's office.
Oh
And you're
yeah.
like, "I didn't do anything last night. I'm pretty sure like I didn't do anything unless somebody took a picture or something. I was in bed. I was tired." And he was like, "Hey, I want to apologize." And I'm like, "For what?" And he's like, "You are going to the big leagues, but," and I'm like, "All right, what the hell is this but about?" And he's like, "We're moving you to the bullpen." And I have never thrown out of the bullpen ever.
Oh,
I mean, I've thrown bullpens, but I have never thrown out of the bullpen.
got you.
And he was like, "We're going to give you 5 days, your normal rest that you've had all year, and then we want you to go down to the bullpen and see how it works." Because I had no idea. I was like,
Oh
I
wow.
was oblivious to what was going on. So Jeff Carsons, who was up with us that year too, I got to know him in spring training because we were both hurt,
Yeah, I remember
and he
Jeff.
and he had a little big league time, not much. Um, and so he was there, and he was there early, and I would always get there super early on the days after I pitched just to get everything done and not be in people's ways. And I was like, "Hey, can I talk to you?" And he's like, "You all right?" And I'm like, "Yes and no." And he was like, "What's going on?" I was like, "Well, I just got called up." And he goes, "No way." And I was like, "Yeah." I go, "But I'm moving to the pen." And he goes, "Oh, now I know why you said yes and no." And like, I have so much emotion at this point because it's all I've ever wanted to do is play baseball. And I didn't even care if I made it to the big leagues or not. Like, I just got the opportunity to play it at all levels,
Yeah.
and I still love the game to this day.
Hmm.
But I was like, I don't know, like, to be nervous, to call my dad, to cry, or what, because something could have happened in that because I made that one start. I had 5 days pitched out of the pen, and I had two more outings, and that was on 1 day rest and 2 days rest.
Okay.
So it ended up being like 2.5 weeks basically.
Sure.
So that extra 2 weeks, basically, I'm like, I know how this game works. It I've seen it happen plenty of times. I'm like, if I say anything, like if I tell my dad and he gets super excited, then I take a line drive off the face or something happens. So I was like, I went outside, I took a deep breath, I shed some tears, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go and be like, just tell dad not everything. Be like, hey, they're moving me to the pen. And he was like, really? You've had a great year. And I was like, yeah, it might be to help him in the big leagues. So I
Huh.
was like, all right. And he was like, really? And I was like, yeah, but I have to work in the pen because I've never done it before. So I don't have a passport. We're going to Toronto.
Oh,
So
wow.
they're like, I'm playing catch and they get me off the field. So I'm like, oh, here it is. Well, no, it was to drive me to New York to get my damn passport. So
Huh.
I'm like, all right, you get your hopes up. Then we're going to Birmingham because I have to pitch. So leave the city, get sent down to Double A because it was on the way. And you know, I don't have any big league time, and I've already played on that team already this year. And I had an eight. We'd been in the car. It was to Binghamton from the city was like two and some change. Um, from what I remember, it was all kind of a blur at that point.
Yeah,
And it was I was like, hey, can I make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and go to the pen like in the fourth or the fifth so I can catch my I've been sitting in a car and the game was starting like in 5 or 10 minutes when I got there because they had all heard the guys that I played with in double A were like, congratulations. And I was like, dude, I don't know what's going on.
hmm.
And I was like, I'm pitching here and then I'm going back to triple A. Don't know. That's all I know from here. They're like, really? I go, yeah, it's all kind of weird. So go out, have a good outing. Um, go out, do the normal stuff we always do after a game. And Stephen White and I, he went to Baylor, so we knew each other from college because we were both in the Big 12 at the time. And
Right.
so he's like, "You want to go get some food?" And I was like, "Yeah." So, we're not making a lot of money at that point. So we hit the dollar menu at Wendy's. And so we get our food, we sit down, my phone rings, and it's our clubhouse director, Todd Negocian. And he was like, "Hey, you need to get back to the stadium." And I'm
Huh.
like, "For what?" I go, "We don't leave for another like couple hours." And then he's like, "No, it's official. You just got called up." And I'm
Huh.
like, "What?" So I was like, "Why do we got to leave, dog?"
Huh.
And he's like, "Yep, I'm with you." And so he was like, "We're not leaving the food though." I was like, "Go grab a sack. I'll be in the car." And so we're like running in. People are like, "What's going on?" And they're like, "Java just got called up." I think people are more excited for you than you are yourself because you have 9 million things running through your head. So I call my dad and I'm like, hey, dad, I love you. Thank you for everything. I don't have time to talk right now. I have to pack. My flight leaves in 3 hours. I just got called up. I love you. And click, hung up on my dad because I knew he'd want to talk. And I was like, didn't have time for it. So I get there. They're like, hey, this is the process. Congratulations. Here's your itinerary, your flight number, so on and so forth. And I was like, okay, how does customs work? I never flew. I didn't fly until I was 19. Um, and so I'm not an expert flyer, let alone
Huskies, yeah.
to another country. And so I'm like, what do I do here? And so, of course, which was a blessing in disguise, they pick me up. I get there, and my flight's delayed. And it was honestly a blessing in disguise because I was like, it gave me time just to sit there, plug my phone in, and call all of my coaches and not feel like I was rushed or they didn't hear it from me. They saw it, Joba gets called up, blah, blah, blah. So it was really, truly a blessing in disguise. But then I'm like, how do I get to wherever we're staying? I know where we're staying, but they're like, yeah, just take a cab and then you'll just get a receipt and we'll pay you back. And I'm like, what? That doesn't make any sense to me. And of course, in Toronto, the airport to where we were staying in Yorkville was like 50 minutes. It felt like an eternity.
Wow.
I was like, I'm never going to get here. And so get there, there's a bunch of fans outside. And I was like, I didn't hear anything, but I obviously was busy. And then get in there and kind of the first day we cleared benches twice.
What a start, huh?
Yeah, it was yeah. Everybody left me when I got off the bus because I got in late. I got in at like 10:30. And so I was like, hey, what how they're like, hey, this is the bus times, whatever. And I'm like, all right. So I get on the bus and it was like I had the plague or something because literally there's like 4 or 5 cameras outside and I still got my bag, under the bus because they're already all there. So like they scattered, like they wanted no part of me. And I'm like just sitting here on an island by myself. I was like, do I talk to these people? Do I just walk and act like I know what I'm doing? I was like, I don't know what to do. And then you walk in the clubhouse and it's just like, okay, what do I do now? And they're like, welcome. They're like, hey, you're over here. So, but yeah, it was an interesting day for sure.
So you had a great rookie season, like phenomenally good. It's like 24 innings, like a .38 ERA just out of the bullpen. And he really made a strong impression in 2007. Considering all that stuff you had to go through, it's really impressive stuff. So, like, what was your mentality when you got on the big league mound? Like, that slider was working really well. Obviously, you were throwing 100 plus, which was way more rare back then than what we're seeing today. So, I felt like you were attacking hitters differently and things I hadn't seen before. So, like, what was like your mentality out there? Like, what helped you succeed as a rookie?
I think it was just the fact that nobody knew who I was. I didn't go to big league spring training. Um, so it was just more like proving my worth because I love what they do now. They bring the young kids up and they're able to, like get to know their personalities and they might be a kid that's going to help them. So you have that opportunity. I didn't. So I think it was one of those things where it's like, I'm not supposed to be here. So it was kind of, I was just like, hey, whatever happens, happens, and don't overthink it. And you got here in 3 months. Nobody else in the history of the Yankees can say that. So I kind of just, I didn't put pressure on myself because I didn't know what to expect. I hadn't pitched out of the bullpen that long. So I didn't want to get my hopes up at that level and be like, oh, I should be getting guys out. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. Um, So it's kind of more of just let it happen. And then obviously, I know you're going to ask the question, so I'll segue you into it. And then it goes into, oh, he's pitching well. Well, we're going to create rules for him and call them
Yeah.
Java rules. And so you don't even have to segue into it. I'll segue for you.
Well, thank you.
Um, and so they sit me down and they're like, hey, this is what it's going to be. I mean, if they just said, hey, you got to fill the toilets with toilet paper and full towels. I'd have been like, I'm in. I'm in the big leagues. I don't care. Like, whatever you need me to do. So they sit me down like, hey, this is what we're going to do. If you pitch an inning, you have a day off. If you pitch 2 innings, you have 2 days off. So I was like, all right. So I was like, is this really going to work? Because I'm a baseball fan. I know how Torre uses bullpens. Like, I'm not dumb. And so I'm like, having success and you want to be on the field.
All
I'm
the
like,
time.
run me out there. Like, I feel great. And Joe probably asked me 90% of the time, you feel, kid? And I was like, I feel great. And probably about of that 90 that he asked me, he probably called about half of that time and be like, can he pitch today? So he it wasn't that he didn't try, that's for sure.
Oh, I believe
And
me, I
so,
believe that.
but it literally they got to the point where they're like, don't even put your like cleats on. Like, don't give him the idea. Like, don't put your jersey on because he would obviously leave first, and then he always sat on that edge, so it would be you'd walk by when you got down through the tunnel, and he would always ask, and then I think either somebody said something or he got the hint because I never came out in my jersey other than the playoffs or my spikes. They're like, don't even do it, and I'm like, what if like there's an emergency and like they're like, nope, you're not even allowed to do that, and I'm like, so I just got to carry my pink backpack with the candy and what everybody wants. They're like, yep, that's your job on the days you don't pitch. So you want to be out there, but it's just you. Obviously, I didn't have enough time in the big leagues to say anything.
Yeah, I
I was just
understand.
happy to be there. So, but
So I'll ask you something around Torre too. Like, how cool of an experience was it playing for Joe Torre? Like, what type of manager was he? Was it just like just walking in, like seeing this legend that won all these World Series? Were you kind of awestruck when you first saw him? Like, how was the experience with him?
you know what? It was awesome. Obviously, knowing who he is and what he has done, but he was like the cool grandpa. He was like, I mean, he was a player's guy because he played. He was old school, and it was kind of it was sitting down and just having a conversation with like the cool grandpa. And he was great. He was great to me during my career with him. He was great afterwards. Every time I'd see him, he was awesome to me. But yeah, he was just kind of those ones he'd sit there and chill and just kind of manage in the way that he did. And that was kind of like, Derek, what do you think right here? Or ask somebody like, what do you think? Uh, and yeah, he was great to play for. It was cool. I mean, one bad thing is in his book he said I was the only regret he had in his career, but that was on me, not him. So yeah, it was weird. It was weird going from Torre to Girardi. I will say that. Like way different dynamics and way different like demeanors and obviously different generations, but both great. I mean, I literally played for catchers for most of my career, and so you get to see their personalities and things like that. So, but yeah, it was like talking to a cool grandpa, and obviously you're in a clubhouse with guys that have won, four World Series, three World Series, two, one, none, and so it's just a really cool. It was a really cool team, a really cool dynamic. Um, then obviously the next year being, Torrey left and closing the old Yankee Stadium, and as I'm staring at one of the chairs. So yeah, I think it's just one of those like cool, surreal moments because I get to play with some of these guys, I can be managed by some of these guys, and just to be able to get to know them on like different levels and not only like the baseball side. Like I used to have to help Girardi with learning to FaceTime his daughter to help with math. Um, Osmus would let me take the lineup card out. I went 13 for 17 that year, won like 11 in a row. So it was just like seeing these cool personalities throughout my career. Tito was awesome. Uh, you just had to watch out for his landmines, and not step on them, and get them on your cleats. But yeah, no, it was just it was really cool playing for all my managers and getting to play as long as I did and getting to play with a lifelong friend that we grew up and played with or against each other since we were seven. Um, so yeah, it's been really cool. And the Yankees, obviously, I was listening to Stacey and all those guys talk the other day, Derek, Jorge, and they're just talking about, and I think A-Rod was on it too.
Yeah.
Well, winning in New York is different. You you see some of these names that are forever going to go down in history, and they had good. You have to be good to be in the big leagues, but they'll forever go down in history as winning, and especially our '09 team because it was the first year of the stadium, and we won in every way imaginable. Blowouts. I think we had 13 or 14 comeback wins. That's when the pie got official. Sometimes it was pie, sometimes it was shaving cream. AJ wouldn't let you know before. And we started off that year terrible. Our April was awful. So yeah, and then it's just you get a group of guys that are really, really good. It's fun to be around them, and it helps winning, that's for sure.
So you won a game in the World Series. How surreal was that being the winning pitcher in the World Series game and helping contribute to that '09 ring?
Well, I mean, I pitched all right, but I had to force a 3-2 pitch, and so then it was a tie game, and then Johnny Damon saved my butt on that heads up play when nobody was covering third. So yes, I did win a game, but not in the way that I really, really wanted to. I will take it.
So like, how cool was like the celebration, like everything that happens after, like all the stuff that came with the World Series, and also it was a long drought too. It was like almost a decade from 2000 to like 2009 after a few squandered chances in between, and now it's still the last ring within 15 to 16 years too.
Um, oh man, I don't know if I ever want to taste champagne again. I can tell you that much. My son still hates it to this day. He told a story. Um, he was he got all of Nebraska last year, and so they interviewed him, and they were talking about clubhouse memories and stuff like that, and he still brings that up to this day. It's hilarious, but yeah, it was surreal, and I you pitch in the game, and then you're like getting ready, and then it's like, what do you do? Like I don't. These guys have done before, so I was just kind of waiting to see what they did. I was like, all right, are we dogpiling or what? Like, I know we did that in college, and I got kicked in the back of the head. Um, and so I was like, I don't know, I don't. So I just ran out with everybody, and you just like, there's a picture in the suites, and it's literally like I'm in the stupidest pose ever, like literally the stupidest pose ever. We're all running, and I'm like this, like I don't know what to do. Like, okay, do I hug somebody? Do I jump? I had no idea what to do. I look like a complete idiot in the picture. Um, and so I'm like, what do I do? Um, and then it kind of just is a blur. You get to spend it with your family and everybody else because you become a family with your teammates because you're with them all the time.
Right.
And so they become your family too. And that's one thing that is the coolest thing ever because you get to follow them throughout their career and watch them grow up as you've seen them grow up in the clubhouse. So I think that's the really cool part about being a family too and having that dynamic with it. So it just for me, I'm so grateful. And then I got to have my dad there. My son was there. And then you get to go celebrate. And then you get to hold the ring or know you're getting a ring. You get to hold the trophy. And you're just like, wow, I just won a World Series. And it doesn't really kick in, like, doesn't kick in because then it's like, okay, you have media stuff that people want you at. We all went to a Knicks game.
Hmm.
Um, then you got dinner with families, and then you have the parade. And I think we got to the parade something like we had to be there by like 7,
Huh.
something like that. And then we took buses in, and I think we didn't even get on the floats till like 10. So it was a long day in general. And you have all the celebrities and all of that. And then I wanted to get home so bad. I was like, I Nebraska was playing Oklahoma, and I was like, I want to go to the game. And one of the coolest things that happened was I walked on the field, and this was when New York State of Mind was like
Oh
the
yeah.
craziest song ever. And so I walked in, and this was before the game. They were just doing like warm-ups, and I was going to say hi to a couple people because I told them I wanted to come in. They're like, yeah, just walk on the field. And so and then they started playing that song.
There
And
you go.
then they recognized me and played the song in front of like 85,000 people. So it was pretty cool.
That's an amazing moment and like just the culmination of things. So I do want to bring you back to Nebraska because you talk about the dog pile there. You did get to the College World Series, home state of Nebraska. So how surreal of an experience was that? And Omaha, I know you still follow to this day because I saw some of your tweets like while talking about the championship and a few other things. So like, how much do you appreciate the College World Series?
Man, it's nuts. Growing up watching it and then getting to play in it, it was about this. I mean, obviously playing in it's completely different. There's a lot more stuff to do, but just being a kid and doing all the activities and all the fun stuff and stuff that you can kind of do when you're playing, but not to the extent. And then, just the craziness was having the people like when we left our stadium just line up with signs and stuff. And then we get to the hotel and we're getting like police escorts to and from everywhere. I was like, this is what I'm talking about. Like this is it. And so it was just really, really cool to have that experience being like our team that year, like 70% of our roster was from Nebraska.
That's
So
amazing.
it meant a lot to us. And they had gone two times before and never won a game. And I'm the only one to ever win a game at the College World Series. And I get it asked all the time. Now, obviously, being a media member this year was really, really completely different. Like I got to enjoy it, but at such a different level where I didn't have to worry about sweating my balls off because I could be in the press box.
Huh.
And, just to be able to sit in there and, you know, cover notes and everything, because obviously there's a lot to do. And just to get to know some people, I met a lot of really, really cool people. A lot of really cool opportunities came from it. It's weird, like watching the game and like I get excited, but you kind of got to reel it in when you're there. And it's more of like just talking about production and, you know,
Yeah.
certain things that, it's when you're watching a game now, it's just I look. So yeah, it was a little different, but so it's all come full circle. I was a fan, then I played. Now I'm on the other side of the fence. So yeah, it was interesting, and there was a handful of guys that are still doing it that covered me
Oh
20
wow.
years ago, and so they go, "How weird is it being up here?" And I was like, um, "It's a little different. It's a little different." So, but it was fun. It was a blast. Some really good baseball, and just the camaraderie with everybody down there. Like, it doesn't matter what school you go to. Uh, other than when you get those late games and dudes have been hanging out for a while. You get I had some pretty fun scuffles that I filmed and I was just like, really? Like for what? Just because you don't like Arkansas? Like so, but no, it was a really good time.
So I'm gonna close you down with this. It's kind of a two-parter, so I'm kind of curious what you're gonna say. So I'm sure you saw Clint Frazier said the Yankees organization doesn't believe in like hot or whatever, like with their analytics. I'm curious what you think about that. And like, do you feel like your career would have been different if the Java rules didn't exist?
Um, I'll take the first one first. Clint's an idiot, first of all, because I was with him in Cleveland too when I was there, and he just rubbed people the wrong way. I never played like with him. That's completely not true. Joe was one of the most analytical people I've ever met. I mean, he graduated from Northwestern in 3 years. Like,
It's
did they
smart,
have
yeah.
the biggest department at the time? No. Do I know what they have now? No, because I'm not there, but I know you kind of have to be in that. And I've talked to guys the last time I was there, and I was like, it's a little different than just going down under and watching the computer. And they're like, yeah, it's way different. So, are some people ahead of others in analytics because they put a prowess on it more so than others? Yeah, but that's going to be everything. And there's ones that they say that they say the Rays are one of the most analytical, and then there's certain teams like the Padres, Dodgers, like they just look at certain things, which I think everybody does. But I think part of it too is finding the balance between the eye test of what fits our clubhouse, what fits our needs, and can this person analytically like help us as a left-handed hitter in our ballpark